This whole thing just doesn't make any sense. This morning at 6:30 a.m. local time in Nashville, Tennessee, this RV pulled up in front of an At&T telecommunications building and exploded. The building that they were targeting, which is more commonly known as the Batman building, also happens to serve as a major hub for pretty much all of At&T's operations in the southeastern region of the United States. So basically this has caused interruptions for every At&T service for hundreds of miles. I'm in North Alabama and have not had a cell signal at all since 11 a.m. this morning. More importantly though, this has also knocked out the capabilities of multiple 911 call centers which relied on At&T to allow calls to go through, so millions of people can't call 911, which is not good. It also forced the international airport to temporarily halt all flights. So who was behind this, and why did so much rely on so little? Examining the facts surrounding the very unfortunate situation in the Music City yesterday, Part 2. Disclaimer, this is an ongoing situation which has affected millions of people, so please do not spread any misinformation, and please, for the love of God, just be respectful of each other and all the people associated with this unfortunate occurrence. Today, authorities have identified a potential person of interest. It has also been said by many sources that a suicide bombing is suspected. Authorities have also gone as far as to search a previous home of the said person of interest. This next part is unconfirmed, so don't spread any misinformation, but many news outlets have been noting that the street view on Google Maps of this address has an RV that seems to match the description. Additionally, many nearby residents interviewed by said news outlets have said that they do recognize the RV in the photos. Also, thanks to the dedication of many maintenance people, At&T worked around the clock to get services restored. Personally, my cell service did come back around an hour ago after over 36 hours with no signal in North Alabama. Also, I wanted to issue a quick correction. I said in my previous video that the apparent target was the Batman building. It was not. It was a nearby building housing servers.
Good evening. There is breaking news tonight. Investigators have identified a person of interest in the Christmas morning bombing in Nashville. Today, agents combed through a severely damaged downtown looking for clues after a parked RV rigged with explosives blew up. At least 3 people were hurt. CBS News Chief Justice and Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues is at FBI headquarters tonight with new developments. Jeff, good evening.
Adriana, law enforcement sources tell CBS News that the leading theory right now is that the person responsible for that bomb blast may have been killed in the explosion. We're also being told that DNA tests are being conducted on human remains found at the scene. Today, federal agents raided the home of a person of interest in connection with the explosion. CBS News has learned that law enforcement has identified the man as Anthony Quinn Warner.
Federal authorities say a 63-year-old Antioch man was responsible for a Christmas morning bombing that left the suspect dead and captured the nation's attention over the holiday weekend as officials worked to determine who parked an RV downtown to detonate. A 63-year-old man from Antioch. What time did the bomb go off? 6:30, 6:3. I've heard that name Antioch before, so I'm gonna go to the Sefer. The reason I use the Sefer because in Joshua 10:13 mentions the book of Jasher or Yasher, but it's not in the King James Bible. The link is in my bio of the version I use. I love the app version because it's easy for me to search for verses and names. So if I type in Antioch, it's going to take me to the book of Maccabees. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Grecians. During the rededication of the temple, the Israelites celebrated the Feast of Dedication on the 25th of December for 8 days. The king who ruled the Grecians during that time was Antiochus. So a 63-year-old man detonates an RV at 6:30 on Christmas morning, which happens to be from Antioch, a name mentioned in the Bible as the king of the Grecians during the rededication of the temple celebrated on the morning of the 25th of December. What motivated him is still unknown. When the motive is unknown, it is a planned event. All lunatics who are perceived to be sane or not have motives. Ted Kaczynski the Unabomber had the manifesto. Oklahoma City bombing Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols blew up that federal building because of the Ruby Ridge and Waco sieges. Stephen Paddock, the Las Vegas shooter, was a former postal worker, tax auditor, and was a gambler who took no chances, dressed sloppy, didn't have Facebook or Twitter, spent the past 25 years playing video poker. So on a whim, he rents a perfect room in the Mandalay Bay to shoot from a perfect angle, at the perfect height, with all these military-grade assault rifles coming in and out of the same casino for days with no mistakes, without one shred of a letter or email or why he did it. These lunatics do not exist. Hundreds of federal, state, and local law enforcement officers worked to solve the case, and just 60 hours after the explosion, agents Sunday evening named Anthony Quinn Warner as the bomber. He died in the blast. A 63-year-old man sits in an RV playing a warning message over the external speaker for 15 minutes, then detonates the bomb at 6:30 and took law enforcement 60 hours to come to the conclusion that it was Anthony Quinn Warner. So it sounds to me it was pretty much a open and shut case. So this would explain why FBI and ATF didn't tape or rope anything off, didn't set up a perimeter, and was taking a casual glance for evidence. So who was Anthony Quinn Warner? A self-employed computer guru, which is kind of easy to give him a self-employed label so there would be no paper trail or next of kin or friends who have known when he was going off the rails. Pretty convenient for a ritual.